Hello, manic.mercurian here with a birth chart reading. This one is for Monday, August 11th, 1986 at 5:30 p.m. in Vinkovci, Croatia. And now you have Sun in Leo, Moon in Libra with Capricorn rising. This chart is sort of interesting, so I just kind of pulled it up and was looking at it, and the first thing I noticed is that you do have Leo Sun. The Sun is very prominent in Leo. It's very strong there. Generally it would make someone very outgoing, charismatic. You would have those traits, but they would be a little bit subdued. There's a lot of other energies in your chart that would be very different from the typical, really fiery, really warm, really expressive Leo. There's a number of reasons why your chart is a little bit different than just that. So one reason is that the sun is in the eighth house. So this is a kind of sleepy part of the chart. It's sort of subdued. It's internal. It's very intuitive and kind of subconscious. So it usually creates kind of a laid back person when the sun is in the eighth house. So that is a little bit different than the super, kind of outgoing and extroverted character we would expect with Leo sun. Another reason that you don't have a lot of really strong Leo energy is that the sun is alone here in Leo. Usually you will have Mercury and sometimes Venus in the same sign as your sun, but you have no other planets in Leo other than the sun. Your Mercury is at the very last degree of Cancer. But also, you have a lot of emphasis on Libra in your chart, and I'll explain more about what all this means here in just a moment. But you do have Moon in Libra, and it's also at the last degree in Libra, though. And then you have Venus in Libra, and Venus rules Libra, so it's very strong there. And both the Moon and Venus are at the top of your chart, right around the 10th house. So they're very prominent, very visible, and so you have this Libran quality to you that may be more visible and more prominent at times than the Leo or Sun type. So what that would mean is that actually real quick before I get into this, you also have South Node in Libra as well, which re- together having the South Node and the Moon in Libra 10th house, and then also Venus, which rules Libra there, all that suggests that you have a lot of weight on the Libra side to your personality. So and this is especially true in your career or in public, since this is a cluster of energies right around your 10th house, which rules your career and public profile. So this would mean that you are much more diplomatic than the typical Leo. So you're much more focused on other people. You're much more adaptable than the typical Leo, and you kind of go with the flow. You would actually be attracted to other people who are more self-assured or more decisive or outwardly confident than yourself, because you do have a lot of that Libra energy. So you like to be around other people that are more um, you know th- you like to be around other people who take initiative, who are very openly strong-willed, because like I said, you're adaptable, and you kind of go with the flow. You go with what other people are doing. So again, that's very different than Leo. I think it's kind of a nice combination, though. You may have heard in my Leo Sun Libra Moon video. It is a nice combination to have because some of the more um, like Leo can be a little bit overbearing at times, and so your Libra Moon would really just polish that off and kind of mellow that out quite a bit. Leo can also be a little bit self-centered, and the Moon in Libra would balance that as well. It would mean that you're a very empathetic person. You're very kind of naturally just focused on other people. And then you do have another strong energy here. So your rising is in Capricorn. So starting to combine multiple of these themes here, to me, it would suggest that you definitely think before you act. So that is also a little bit different than what we would expect from Leo. Leo would be very spontaneous and kind of doing what it feels in the moment. But you're a little bit more strategic and you're a little bit more detached. You like to think before you act, and you like to kind of analyze things and weigh the pros and cons and kind of sense things. You do have Cancer Mercury as well, so I would think you have a strong intuition, and you like to kind of feel your way around sort of psychically or emotionally before jumping into something. I wouldn't see you as being someone who typically rushes into things. I think you're someone who kind of takes your time, and Libra, and even Cancer to some extent, and Capricorn. All these energies kind of they like to weigh the pros and cons, and they like to plan and kind of think before they act. Libra is always kind of weighing things back and forth and analyzing, taking in all the variables, focusing on what other people want and what's best for the group, and thinking a couple steps ahead. Cancer's a little bit like that as well with your Cancer Mercury. You you're wanting to be sort of prudent and like the way you think and analyze is a little bit cautious, I would say. Which it can make you a little bit inhibited because of this. However, you do have that Leo sun. It is a little bit subdued, but it is definitely there. So that does bring some kind of warmth and charisma to your personality, which is really nice. It's nice to have that kind of balancing things. But I do notice that there's also this theme in your chart that I think you're meant to work towards. So you have North Node in Aries, and then you also have your chart ruler, which is Saturn. The chart ruler is Saturn, and it's in Sagittarius, which is another fire sign. And North Node is in Aries, which is a fire sign. So I think you're actually meant to, throughout your life, you're meant to become more outgoing and a little bit more decisive. Now, you will always have those strong Libra energies. You'll always be very good at uh, going with the flow and being kind of strategic. This is really excellent professionally. So you would be great with customer service or like business relations or personal relations like at work because you naturally kind of anticipate the needs and expectations and desires of other people and then kind of conform to fit what those needs are. You conform yourself to, the circumstances. And so this means that you'd be excellent at being really professional, giving good customer service or, working with other people in whatever business you're in. And this could really apply to almost any industry. Um, but something working with people, you'd be really excellent at having a reputation that's sort of, like you're very friendly but never overbearing, and it's like you have this kind of gracefulness about your personality. So I would expect you to be, very polite, and you never kind of like you wouldn't be a very extreme person. You're never, putting yourself out there too much. You're always kind of, generally speaking, you'd be more in the safe zone and being, really excellent at knowing what's appropriate for the circumstance and knowing what people want. So all that's great. There's a lot of great strength and a lot of skills there that you have innately. However, I think that there's another energy that you're also meant to incorporate into the mix here, which is this sort of underlying fire energy that I see in your chart. You do have your Leo Sun, which is always there. You do have that kind of warmth and vitality there. Um, but also having the chart ruler being in a fire sign and your North Node being in a fire sign, it means that as you mature, and you've probably already made a lot of progress in this area, I would think. But I think over time you will learn to be more decisive and independent, more confident and strong-willed. And you might be the one initiating, taking on maybe a leadership role, for instance, or being the one that's kind of in the limelight, who's getting more of that attention. It's just interesting though because the North Node is in the fourth house. So it's kind of tucked away down here. North Node represents sort of what we're working toward in this life, where we're going, how we're evolving. It represents something that we're not naturally good at, but something that really benefits us if we put ourselves out there in that direction. And it's in Aries, so it is, it's suggesting that you're meant to evolve to become, more independent, more fiery, outgoing, more spontaneous, more kind of like Aries. And again, you can keep those Libran qualities of kind of, being patient and diplomatic and thinking before you act. Before you act, you can keep all that, but then also incorporate more of the outgoingness and maybe even stubbornness at times of the Aries North Node. Um, but it is interesting. It's in the fourth house, so I think this is almost. I think it's something that people might not readily see. It's something that I think is more private to you. That you, like for instance, other people might not realize that you are actually taking the lead, taking the initiative, you know, more putting yourself in positions where you take charge of what's going on. I don't think it's something that will be apparent to other people. It's something that you kind of do on your own because all your fiery energy is in parts of your chart which are kind of hidden from other people. It's hard to explain, but your chart ruler is in the 11th house, pretty close to the 12th house. Um, North Node's in the 4th house, Sun is in the 8th house. So you have this fire there, but I don't know. It's something you almost keep private. Like it's like almost like a secret power that you have. This power to take charge and to have a lot of confidence and direction and knowingness. You know, to see things as black and white. That's a big theme here too. Is that you are naturally coming from a place of seeing many different shades of gray. So you're constantly analyzing and weighing the pros and cons, and that's part of what makes you a little bit less decisive because you like to have all the variables and take everything into account. The reason why fire energy is more confident is because it sees things as more black and white. So it's either yes or no, go or don't go. And so that's actually something, it's almost like a superpower that I think you can have at times and that you'll work more toward going to in your life is learning to also be able to see things black and white, or in other words, to be able to simplify things for the sake of confidence, basically, and direction. Sometimes it's good to have all the information and all the data and to take everything into account. But it can slow you down. And sometimes it is good to see things more black and white just so you can be more efficient that way. It really just depends. But hopefully that makes sense to you what I'm saying here. But that is one big theme I noticed in your chart here. Um, let's see here. I'm just looking around. You have Neptune conjunct your rising. So I don't want to get too ahead of myself here. So Neptune conjunct your rising, it would mean that the energies of Neptune are sort of infused into your personality, your appearance, your mannerisms, everything that the ascendant rules over. So Neptune is this kind of mysterious planet. It is known to confuse things. It's known to sort of lead to its own downfall thematically. And being conjunct your rising, it means that your appearance may change dramatically throughout your life, and it may not even be something that you intentionally do. But I don't know, it could have to do with like your clothing or even your physical body may change dramatically through your life. So you may, gain a lot of weight and then lose a lot of weight, or vice versa. Or something about your appearance and your mannerisms will this position would this aspect would suggest that your whole appearance and your kind of approach to things would sort of change and fluctuate dramatically throughout your life. And Neptune conjunct the ascendant also indicates that you're sort of a mystery to people. People don't always understand you. It's like you kind of slip through their fingers. So, sort of combining this with other elements in your chart here, your chart to me suggests someone who I think you're very good with people. I think like I said earlier, you're really great at being professional, being really friendly, being very cordial, um, being very friendly. But Libra is sort of friendly in a detached and sometimes strategic way. I think you're actually kind of a puzzle to people. Like people think they understand you more than they actually do. People, you know, you are friendly and people sense that and they feel like they understand you, but really they're only seeing one side and it's a side of yourself that you're kind of putting on for them. I don't think they actually oftentimes understand what's going on, deeply. And people may perceive you as being less deep than you actually are. This is also common with Libra placements, and it's common with Sun in the eighth house. I think you're just very easygoing, go with the flow, very friendly. That's how people would see you, and that's all true. But they don't realize that there's a lot more to your personality as well. Particularly the fiery energy. That's kind of it's almost like a long, slow, a low burning like coal fire. I'm kind of picturing like you have this like this steady kind of smoldering like these coals that are always burning that you kind of have secretly. Hopefully that makes sense, but it's like you have this kind of confidence and decisiveness that you can whip out like as a tool if you so choose. And that's just one example of something that I don't think people really perceive with you. So that's definitely interesting. Okay, let's kind of just jump around here. Let's talk about. Well, first, let's talk about relationships. So, you have Venus in Libra at the top of the chart, as I mentioned before, and then you have Mars in Capricorn, and then your descendant is in Cancer. Now, these are all different elements, but it's the same mode, though. These are all cardinal signs, which means that they correlate to the beginning of season. So these are signs that all initiate something in their own way. Um, so combining these energies, in my head here, it would indicate to me that you're attracted to someone who initiates, like someone who's very unique and is initiating something. I don't think they always initiate in a very outgoing way. So it's not necessarily someone who is super, charismatic and flashy, and someone who is has all the attention on them and who's like a celebrity of sorts. It's not that type of character. It's more someone who is sort of quietly leading and initiating, maybe by example or in a sort of quiet way. They're like this. They are a leader, but they're leading kind of indirectly or quietly somehow. Venus in Libra indicates your sort of approach to relationships, and Venus is in domicile in Libra, so it would indicate that you have like the way you approach romance and flirtation or whatever. um, this indicates that you would be very desirable to people. You approach these things in a way that is easily understood by other people, and it's desirable to people. Venus in Libra is really great at those, kind of interpersonal interactions, and like I said earlier, knowing what people want, and kind of, molding. You're good at molding yourself to kind of fit in with other people, especially with one-on-one interactions. Um, so let's see here. And it would also indicate that you're kind of attracted to someone who's a little bit more light, more detached. However, you do have your Mars in Capricorn, so um, and then you have your descendant in Cancer. I should just mention you have a lot of planets in domicile or exalted, so this would also indicate that you are someone who is attractive to people. Like I think you just have a sort of kind of a easygoing charm about you. I don't think you're super outgoing, but you are. Your mannerisms are very pleasant to other people. You're very easy to talk to and to work with, and you give people that feeling. Um, like on the one hand, you're very well understood. You're easily understood. But I would say again, it's only to a certain point though, and then there's these kind of deeper exteriors, deeper things there that aren't always seen. But Mars in Capricorn indicates that you are attracted. If you are attracted to men, then this would indicate that you're attracted to men who are very kind of strong-willed. Maybe someone older than you. However, this is flipped from your descendant. Your ascendant is Capricorn, so your descendant is Cancer. So this would indicate that you would sort of naturally want to be the more responsible one in the relationship, so the one who kind of has more of an idea of the finances and any goals or plans. You kind of naturally set the structure for your one-on-one relationships. You set the foundation. Like I said, you're the more mature one, so you might be literally older, or even if you're not, actually older, it's almost like you're the more mature one in a way. Um, and then your descendant in Cancer, this indicates that you would be attracted to someone who is a little bit more sensitive, someone compassionate and kind of more gentle energy, someone who's more, nurturing. So you provide the structure, the foundation, and then they provide this kind of, sympathy and this nurturing and this closeness. You'd definitely be a very loyal person. You'd want that loyalty and that stability. You want a really stable dynamic. So it doesn't always have to be super fun and dramatic. You would want a connection that's more low key, and just really has that stable dependency. You really want that. Like loyalty is very important to you. That's what I'm trying to say. Um, and having descendant in Cancer, it would indicate that you're attracted to people with water in their chart. And so this would be Scorpio, Pisces, or Cancer. I would say especially Cancer though. You do have Pluto in Scorpio, which would make that sign a little bit intense for you. Pisces might work. Um, it's hard to say. Pisces would clash with a lot of your other energies, but you do have Jupiter in Pisces, which would make Pisces a sort of I don't want to say educational, but it would aid in your expansion, especially mentally or emotionally. Um, I think Cancer would actually work very well for you because people with Libra placements are generally attracted to Cancer placements, and then even your Leo Sun. Leo and Cancer are very different from one another, but they do have a couple things in common. They're very loyal, and they're fiercely loyal, and they both have a lot of heart. They're both very soulful signs, and their family or their tribe is very important to them. So I think you would work actually very well with someone who at least has some type of energy in Cancer. So it might not be Cancer Sun, but maybe Cancer Moon, or maybe someone who has their Venus and Mars there. Some kind of person with some Cancer in their chart would be good, or at least some kind of water, probably Cancer. And the water elements are, the more emotional. They're the more deep, sensitive, creative, intuitive. Um, it's the last element in this series typically, so they're generally thought to be more, wise and soulful, old souls, that type of thing. So that's generally what you would really need in a long-term relationship. Um, Having your Venus in Libra and Mars in Capricorn, that would suggest that what you're more attracted to on a maybe more short-term level would be someone who's a little bit more detached, more logical, kind of intellectual. So I think combining all this together, you would want someone who's a little bit, maybe a little bit more introverted, someone who's not super outgoing. Someone who kind of has this calm inner confidence about them would be really attractive to you. And it's definitely someone nurturing and maybe a little bit more on the sensitive side. Maybe someone a little bit more emotional than yourself, for instance. That's kind of what you would be attracted to in a relationship, generally speaking. Okay, and then let's see here. What else? I think I've covered a lot here. Just making sure I cover everything. I did talk about your childhood a little bit. So people with Libra South Node as children are usually observers. They're usually, very intent on, kind of people watching, and they're almost like a fly on the wall. They could be a little bit shy at times, but they're usually very creative. So they like doing things with their hands, so like drawing or reading or writing or I don't know. They like kind of hands-on like creative type of stuff, and they're usually more shy. But as they mature, that's where you'll go more into the Aries North nodes. You'll learn to be, less of a fly on the wall, more outgoing, more maybe a little bit more assertive and self-assured. More outspoken a little bit. You'll learn to incorporate that energy into your mix as well. And then continuing, on the topic of childhood upbringing here, you have your IC in Taurus. This would indicate that, and this is a little bit loose, it doesn't always apply to everyone, but I would say it indicates a potential for your upbringing being financially wealthy to some degree. So this would indicate that you had everything you needed financially growing up. Now, sometimes the household can be a little bit more lacking emotionally, um, but, physically, there's that either abundance or at least just you always had what you needed physically, but maybe not so much emotionally. That was could be lacking just depending on the circumstances there. Um, oh, okay, and then you do have your midheaven in Scorpio, and it's actually conjunct your Pluto. So this would indicate that um, so people with midheaven in Scorpio, especially conjunct Pluto, it indicates that you would be attracted to working in uh, occupations that involve some kind of crisis element to it. So, being like a first responder, like a paramedic or working in a hospital, or um, I I knew of someone who was a firefighter and had midheaven in Scorpio, or even doing something more psychological or investigative. Like being some kind of detective would be perfect for this, or even being like a therapist or counselor would be good for this because you're attracted to positions where you kind of see some kind of dark side in a way, or you see people in their extremes, for instance. But yeah, so there's some kind of crisis element to your career potentially. But I think you would be good at this. Having your Libra moon indicates that you have always been kind of thoughtful. You've always been sort of self-aware. And I think you can be very detached. And I think that's something that people might not realize with you as well, is that you can be very detached, and you can kind of learn to use this as well. So this would work really great if you do have an occupation where there's some kind of, very e- e- uh, crisis element to it, or emergency element, or I don't know, dark or investigative. You would be very good at that because you'd be detached, and you could keep your head in sort of stressful or pressured situations. You'd be naturally good at remaining calm and uh, staying logical in heated situations. Let's see here. And it's funny because Mars in Capricorn does indicate that you can be a fighter, if you feel like you need to. Mars is exalted in Capricorn, so it's a very strong placement. Mars typically rules what you fight, but also what you fight for sometimes. Um, so being in Capricorn, it's almost like you fight to be a leader, but you might also fight your leaders. So you might fight with the people that are immediately above you, at work or what have you. But you also have this ambition to kind of work up the ladder as well. So it's interesting because at the face of it, you're a very easygoing person, I would say. But I think you do have this kind of fiery nature to you as well. That's just kind of more covert a little bit. It's a little bit more subtle, but it's definitely there. Okay, and what else? What else? I think that's pretty much what I see. Um, you also have Mercury making an exact square with the moon, so I think this would be difficult for you at times. Libra moon already has so much on its plate. You're definitely seen as someone who is kind of an old soul, because especially even from a young age, you were always kind of self-aware and kind of wise, like you had excellent common sense. But I think for you, it might not always feel that way for you. I think you often feel confused. You feel like you have so much to integrate. There's so many different thoughts and feelings. It's almost like you're kind of clashing with yourself at times. Like I don't know, you might have conflicting, feelings, conflicting thoughts, conflicting opinions. From the outside, you seem very calm and, you maybe even very self-assured at times. Um, people perceive you as being very calm, but I think on the inside, it might not always feel that way. It can be a little bit more confusing, but this is something that I think you naturally kind of get a hold of as you get older, and you'd learn it can become a strength because it gives you this ability to see things from many different angles, many different sides. And this would be definitely also very good at under. You'd be very great at understanding other people, understanding psychology. You kind of are naturally good at understanding other people and kind of seeing what's going on, like on a deep level with other people, if that makes sense. Um, okay. That's pretty much what I see. So if you have any specific questions, feel free to ask, or if you'd like any more information on anything in particular, I would be happy to do what I can here. But that's generally what I see with this chart. So hopefully that resonates. Hope that helps. And for anyone else, if you do want a reading, you can always email me at manic.mercurian@gmail.com. But thank you for this request, and thanks for watching, and I'll see you later.